Reports have surfaced alleging that Jim Biden, brother of President Joe Biden, was involved in business dealings with the Saudis during Mr. Biden's time as vice president, making this another member of the Biden family, many would say, with alleged foreign ties during his time as vice president. Let's bring in our panel to discuss. Host of nationally syndicated Tony Katz today and host of Eat, Drink, Smoke radio show, Tony Katz, and ambassador for the America First Policy Institute, Newsmax contributor and retired U.S. Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant, Jessie Jane Duff. And Tony, I'm going to start with you this time. Your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, you referred to me as Tony Katz. From now on, I am Tony Biden because the money is sweet. I mean, it just rains cash when you're a Biden. They'll pay $500,000 for your artwork, which is nothing more than a squiggle. You get to broker deals on behalf of some Saudi company, and you get promised. This was one of the great kickers. The New York Post story had this. I think it was from the Daily Mail originally. A promise of business in the future. Unbelievably shocking. The one thing that I think that is very normal about this story, and I think people do accept, is the idea that, well, Jim Biden has the right to go make a living. But he's making a living clearly off the name of his brother. The question before us is, what was done within those kinds of meetings, in those kinds of business dealings that weren't on the surface? Well, it's a brother and it's a name, so we hired him. What was given on this underneath in some other part of the story? And you say to me, well, Tony, you're just guessing at that moment. This is the exact same conversation regarding Hunter Biden. But Hunter Biden's a much worse story than this one.
Yeah, Jessie Jane, some are saying that the business dealings with Jim Biden are actually a bigger story that should be investigated, even bigger, unlike Tony suggests, than the Hunter Biden scandal.
Yes, this is like a nebulous onion. You start peeling away and you just have tears in your eyes with how much indiscretion this family was actually practicing. Now, you will hear people on the far right say, we have to impeach President Biden. No, we don't. Let all this unravel, because first of all, if you impeach President Biden, we get Kamala Harris as president. So that's not even a win there for the American people. Plus, impeachment hearings never work out for the party that's conducting it. I suggest that we just keep unraveling this, expose it, hold everybody accountable, make sure that there are congressional hearings. If there are illegal activities that must be played out, that they're held accountable illegally. And in 2024, you have the best messaging ever, because now you can simply state that the Democrats are corrupt, and you have the evidence to lay it out. Despite how much they have tried to throw at Donald Trump, time and time again, he has been able to prove that he conducted no illegal activity. But yet the Bidens cannot escape this. Their corruption, their embezzlement, and everything engaged with foreign entities is outlandish.
Just for the record, there are a number of things going on with Mr. Trump. We don't know how they play out, but you're absolutely right so far on there's a lot that hasn't come up that people thought for sure they had on Mr. Trump. Meanwhile, the presidential season has kicked off. I understand Mr. Trump is running, and he's got somebody in who threw her hat in the ring as well, former South Carolina governor and UN ambassador Nikki Haley. What do you think, Tony? I mean, I tongue-in-cheek said, is she actually running for vice president? But does she have a chance here, and if so, how?
Well, first, she's running for vice president, and it doesn't hurt to be in the race. You know, when you take a look at Senator Tim Scott, also of South Carolina, rumored to get into the race, and you're like, why would he do this? He's clearly number one or number two on the vast majority of shortlists out there. The answer is, well, go back and look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden had never won in any primaries. Joe Biden was a complete and total disaster. Joe Biden had no chance in 2020 until Jim Clyburn cleared the field for him regarding South Carolina. So when you take a look at Biden, who then ran the rest of his campaign from the basement, as we all saw, you say to yourself, well, I guess anything is possible. So you put yourself in the ring, you put yourself in the arena, you take your hits, you raise your money, you get your opportunities, you raise your profile, and then you see where you make nice with people and you end up being in a cabinet somewhere. So whether it's vice president or whether it's cabinet, Nikki Haley really has absolutely nothing to lose by running. I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, Jessie Jane, we had former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum on last hour, and he said that when he was running for president, there was no one he had ever met during that time or at any other time who would run for president without actually legitimately wanting to be president. He said there's no way you would go through all of that if you were just hoping to pick something else up as a result. Your thoughts?
I say pre-Trump, that was probably 100% true. But now, you're looking at a machine. Donald Trump has a machine that is worth billions of dollars that can cover this entire landscape, the entire nation, and can gear up in an instant. Nikki Haley doesn't have that. She doesn't have the nationwide support. She can't trigger a campaign to get going the way Donald Trump can. So there obviously is an agenda for her. Now, not everybody, as was said earlier by another guest on your shows, is that not everybody comes out ahead in this. Sometimes it actually diminishes them because they can't hold their own when they're on that platform. But there are those who have gotten great book deals, even television shows and appointments. Some people do come out ahead. So you have to weigh this out very cautiously. Nikki Haley cannot go slinging at Donald Trump because his base is rock solid and they will not accept her even to be vice president if she lashes, which she already did once before, and they have a very long memory.
All of this.
Yeah, but I don't think his base. I agree with you. His base is his base, right, Jesse? They're there. They're not going anywhere. But that's not her target audience anyway. Her target audience is very clearly, to me, suburban women who voted for Joe Biden because they didn't want any more Trump crazy, right? Like, I can't handle another tweet. I can't handle the talking. It's nuts. And then they got Joe Biden and they said, well, I didn't want this crazy either. And so she thinks she can split the difference. In her speech today, she grabbed a little bit of that Sarah Huckabee Sanders rebuttal conversation about the idea of crazy and certainly about the idea of generational, new generation, younger generation, hipper generation. And she's trying to grab that voting block and be able to utilize it somewhere down the line. In the back of her head, does she think she can be president? Absolutely. You got to have the right kind of ego to run for president. In the front of her mind, does she know that this creates opportunity for her? Absolutely. And she knows it's not with the Trump base.
All right.
Oh,
yep.
Interesting.
All great points. Yes. All right.
I think what's interesting about Trump, remember, if he gets like 32%, somebody gets 16%, and the state is a winner take all, he gets all those delegates. So he moves on again, getting through 32%. Somebody gets 15%. He takes all of them, you know, so it starts to add up. That's why that machine you were talking about, absolutely, it's a tough one to take on.
Yeah, sure is. All right. Tony Katz, Jesse Jane, stick around. More with our fabulous panel right after this.